I'm gonna close my door too.
I'm here, just waiting for my camera to pop up.
Okay.
Might be a second.
I just missed that. Did Melissa say something? Is she all, Melissa, you all set?
Yeah,
I'm
she
here,
said
just
she
waiting
was
for my
saying-
camera.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
I'm here though. Go ahead if you need to.
Okay, all right. I'm going to go ahead and call meeting of the Shutesbury Selectboard to order. Today is November 22nd, and this meeting is being held via Zoom. So as usual, I will go through the agenda and just a couple of things. During the public comment period, I prepared just a quick kind of tutorial on the tax rate and property value. So if there are a lot of questions during the public comment period about the new valuations and how that's going to affect people, I will just take that opportunity right after public comment to do that. Otherwise, I'm going to forego it because we have such a large and lengthy agenda this evening. So in terms of the agenda, public comment, if there are a bunch of questions regarding, again, the valuations, I will speak to that. Then we have minutes to review. We have a meeting with Clark Auto Wrecking to review their permit, which is an annual vote that we take. 6 o'clock, Mary Ann Antonellis is going to give an update on Lot 032. 6:20, we have the conservation coming in to talk about engaging outside counsel. At 6:30, we have discussion about worksite restriction for Lot 032. And then after that, the right of first refusal for the Greenbound property, hearing back from Planning Board, Concom, and Historical Commission. 6:50, the Emergency Management Director discussion and Deputy Emergency Management, and some changes in the police and fire chiefs' job descriptions. After that, the Emergency Management grant review with the police chief. Then we meet with the athletic club to review their ABCC license and permits. We have an MOU with the police chief and select board, then changes to the Lake Wyola Dam subcommittee, rescinding a cultural council vote, and then a new kind of unanticipated item for this evening's agenda, which we will do, is to discuss a letter that was received on Friday from the Department of Environmental Protection regarding the fire station and PFAS testing that was done there. And then finally, we have the town administrator updates. So we have a long agenda this evening, so I want to go ahead and get right into public comments. And as usual, I ask that folks kind of limit their public comments, and if it's something that we're going to be discussing later on, if you could please just wait, and if we have the opportunity, we will have public comments. And I expect this evening, if the other two select board members are in agreement, that we might speak to the worksite restriction and allow public comments for maybe 10 minutes during that time. Is that Eric and Melissa, are you good with that?
Yes, I am.
Eric, okay, great. Miriam, I see your hand up. Are you making a public comment? Because
Yes.
we're in the public comment.
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. So please use the raised hand feature if you have a comment, and I'll ask Melissa if you would help me out if we end up with another screen this evening. If you could just keep an eye on both the time and to make sure
Absolutely.
we're keeping moving, and also if I don't see a hand, because
Yes.
just seeing one screen right now. So I see Miriam, I will recognize you for the public comment.
Yes, so I'm following up on the email I sent to the select board with an update. And I wanted to share that I went out to Southbrook Conservation Area today with Lenny Zerwanka to take a look at the bridge that we're concerned about. And so I am, I'm sharing that I am concerned about the safety of that bridge as well as some others for use during the winter. I'm concerned about people using snowmobiles and ATVs in that vicinity, because this bridge is in partially beginning to collapse. The supports under it are cracked, and it could be a significant hazard. Lenny felt that, and I kind of agree, that there's also a challenge to removing it this winter, because somebody might come snowmobiling down this big steep hill and then think there's a bridge at the bottom of the hill and then discover that there's no bridge. And so there are a lot of concerns about how we can keep this safe. I think we're going to try and put up some signage to say to people that they have to, that the bridge is unsafe. Lenny suggested getting some boards and maybe adding some reinforcement to the bridge just for this winter to make it less likely to fail suddenly. And so I think he was going to check to see with the highway department if they might have any lumber that could be used for that. But I'm just sharing this with the commission, with the select board.
Great. Thanks, Miriam. And if there's any follow-up that we need to take, if you could just give us something in writing and I will follow up with you.
Okay.
Thank you. Other public comments?
I do.
Les.
Hi, greetings, Rita, Melissa, and Eric. I'm going to try to read from some comments that I've prepared so I can try to stay on track. But I have to say, it's not easy to challenge and confront you at a public meeting, but that's what I'm going to do. And I wish to speak to an agenda item that's posted for this evening's meeting, the worksite area restriction. And I note that there'll be a vote on this item. And
Les, can I just stop you for 1 second? Because I said we will allow comment during that agenda item. We already discussed that.
And I was going to make note of that.
Okay.
Just when you interrupted me. And I'm really glad to hear that there's going to be public comment. I really do hope that. But regarding the agenda, looking at the agenda as a citizen, I have no idea what's being proposed by the board. And I'm assuming it's by you, or why. There's been no advance public notice or explanation regarding this particular item. And I believe that residents, because of the interest that we all have in 032, have a right for that kind of advanced discussion and participation going back and forth with you. And my concern in Lot 032 and the interest and concern of other residents is due to the checkered history and mismanagement of the property before and after the town's purchase of the property over 18 years ago. I don't have time to go into that now, but I want you to be aware that the interests of people and concerns of people in this are just not regarding the proposed library. They go back many, many years. And I'm hoping that there can be more transparency and responsiveness and interaction between residents and the Board of Selectmen going forward. Thanks.
Mary Lou?
Rita, we have hit, just for a time check, we have hit 5:40.
Okay, great, thanks. Mary Lou?
Yes, hi, Mary Lou. I have a question kind of following what Leslie was addressing. I'm curious that this kind of vote may need to go in front of town meeting, because I always thought Shutesbury was run by the people.
Okay, are there any other comments? Mary Lou, do you want to take your hand down?
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you.
I'll make a couple of comments.
You know what, Eric, I don't think we want to respond
Okay,
during
okay,
public
fine.
comment period,
Okay,
but
that's
we'll
okay.
have an opportunity
Okay,
when the topic comes up.
that's
for-
fine.
Okay, all right. So the next item is to review the minutes of November 9th. And
I believe we have to pass over
we
that.
have to pass over that. Okay, I hadn't seen them, so.
Right, that would be the reason why. I have seen them and they're just about ready, but we didn't get them sent out ahead of the meeting, so.
Okay,
I
all right.
apologize.
Okay. All right, so we have
4 minutes.
auto wrecking. Is somebody here from Clark's yet?
I don't see, so,
We'd be looking for Sarah.
I don't see Sarah.
Okay.
I
All
can,
right, if that's not the case, no other public comments. I don't want to get started on other items on the agenda, so
I'm looking for, I'm trying to call Sarah. to see-
okay.
Come on, Sarah, where's your-
Go to view,
Becky, I just sent her a message.
view,
Thank you.
View where?
move your cursor. Move your.
Somebody's microphone, Les, your microphone is on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Becky, can you make me a co-host?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does anybody want to talk about the change in valuations? And the tax rate, or is everybody, there was a town announce that went out today, which I think was, had a explanation about the change in valuations and the impact on the tax rate. So if you think you need more of an explanation, I'd be happy to give one. I did receive a number of emails on it, and that's why. And just, I guess, along those same lines, we will be having a tax classification hearing on, it's a week from tonight. And at that hearing, we set, we've always historically set a single tax rate in Shutesbury because we have so few commercial properties and businesses. So we've always operated with a single tax rate. And I assume that is going to be the recommendation of the assessors. And after the tax classification hearing, the assessors and the town submit all the information to the Department of Revenue, and then the new tax rate will be set. And I believe that with the approximately 20% increase in the overall valuations in town, the resulting tax rate drops from around just over $21 to like $18.49. So the values have gone up, but the tax rate has gone down, which what it means for individual property owners, taxpayers, I think that the expected increase in taxes is below 2%. So we're operating with, with the same budget, with higher valuations, and the same tax levy that was voted at town meeting, and with much higher valuations, and therefore a drop in the tax rate. So there you go. There's my my quick and dirty explanation.
Rita, Sarah had to download. I don't know if she had a new computer or something, but she is downloading right now the Zoom application and should be here in a couple minutes.
Okay. Jill, I see your hand if you want to.
Yes, thank you. Could you said 2%. Can you give an example?
Sure. Becky, can you put up the one pager I did? I think it was in the, there was something in the town announce, but I'll just, also, I had a kind of abbreviated description.
That's the one I'm going with, how tax is
Yeah.
calculated, right? Okay, then how do I find it? This is.
Ooh.
Can everyone-
So what I did that was just different from what came out in the town announced, is making sure people understood. So it is a little confusing about how the tax rate itself is calculated. So that it's the tax levy divided by the total value of all properties in town, and the tax levy is what's voted at town meeting. So we operating with tax levy of about $5.4 million from annual town meeting, and that 293 is the new total valuation in town, that you can see that line after. We went from 242 million, almost 243 million, up to 293 million. And that was based on sales from 2021. So if you look below, Jill, it talks about, an average house valuation under kind of the previous valuations, with the tax rate was at 2183. And then you can kind of skip. There were estimated tax bills sent out in May of 2022 based on that old value. But now the next tax bill you get, the average house valuation has increased to $322,981, which is a 20% increase. And based on that formula from up above, the new tax rate is 1849, resulting in, you can see the annual tax bill from FY22 then to FY23. Does that answer your question, Jill?
No.
What is your question?
Sorry. So I wanted an actual example, like if you want to use $350,000, the average
Well,
increase is 2%. What is that?
Well, if you use that same, if you use the 269 and then the 20% increase brought it up to 322. So we're using essentially the same house from FY22, then FY23. So it was 5876 in 2022 for 20 I mean, in FY '22, and then it went up to 5961. And we're saying it's 59, that was an estimate, and then 5972.
So $11.
Between the, what was estimated in May
And now, yep.
November. Yeah.
I'm sorry, the difference between 5,876 and 59,072.
Is less than $100,
It's $100.
a little less than $100.
94.
$100 a year,
96.
96, I'm sorry.
$96 a year.
For that is what we are estimating. And I want to underscore all the numbers represented here and in the email are estimates. We won't have the final tax rate for another week to 10 days or so, maybe a little bit longer. So we know people are very concerned, so we've done our best to represent the order of magnitude in this example. But again, what your actual bill will vary a little bit because it's the average tax rate. I'm sorry, the average values have gone up 20%, but some are a little bit more, some are a little bit less. They're not all exactly 20%. But this is an attempt to give you a sense of what might happen.
Oh, there's Sarah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. All right, you all set, Sarah?
Oh, yeah. You know that feeling when you have too much time and you can't figure out why? Yeah.
Okay, so if there are more questions about the tax rate or the calculations, I know that the assessors are not fully staffed, but you can call the assessor's office and we will be doing the tax classification hearing next week.
I have a question, but the hand raise function isn't working. I'm unable to do that.
Okay, I'll just take one more question and then we're going to move on to the Clark Auto Wrecking. Go ahead. Who's speaking?
Katie Egan.
Okay, Katie, go ahead.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I don't know why it's not working on my computer. Yeah, the 5-year period where this needs to be reevaluated every 5 years. Are we saying that most people saw a 20% increase over that 5-year period? Because I mean, personally, I'll just say my assessment from 5 years ago is up 96%. And I would like to, see what other, is that what we're saying, that it's over a 5-year period, that 20% increase?
20% was just from the FY '21 sales. Correct, Becky?
Correct. Yeah, so it's not, so each year values are changed a bit by sales, but at the end of the period, when they do the reval, they look at the FY '21 sales and go through all the values. And we've seen some extraordinary sales where people have sold for 40% more than asking price. It's been some shocking stuff happening. That's what accounts for the overall increase this year in valuation. Last year we had a smaller but significant uptick. I think it was $16 million. This one of 50 million is very large, but it's not accounting for the whole 5 years. It's from last year.
And if anyone has an issue with their valuation, please direct it to the assessors.
I would like to do that. I'm not sure the process for that, but there's been no improvements, and I just find a 96% improvement. I know that's not the select board there, but yeah.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
is the market value. by statute.
Becky, we want to move on because we're already behind schedule. So I just say, Katie, contact the assessors. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Sarah is here from Clark Auto Wrecking, and we have a permit to review.
Correct.
And does somebody want to share that permit application with us?
Okay, so I will put that on screen.
Sarah, maybe you can describe while we're waiting for the permit to come up, whether or not there are any changes from the previous year, and just to tell us quickly what the nature of the permit is.
This is our yearly class 3 renewable license that we apply for each December. It's what allows us to be in business. No changes. We did not crush this year. It's cold and quiet right now.
And for those who are unfamiliar, your business is located on Pratt Corner Road, and you
Sell new and used auto parts, junk vehicles, crush them, and everything that goes along with it. We pay to have our tires removed. We have a person that gets our used batteries. We have people that want the used oil for their heating systems. So we feel that we are responsible auto recyclers.
Thank you for that. So any questions, Melissa or Eric, about the renewal?
I have none.
Melissa?
Yep,
Are you
I have
there?
none.
Okay. Anything else that Becky or Geneva that the select board needs to make note of here?
The select board should come in and sign the Clark Auto application. It's already signed and paid for by the Clarks.
And I want to say that Geneva is a wonderful asset. She's on top of her game for something that might, this might be new to her. She caught something I missed, so kudos to her.
Great, thanks for mentioning that, Sarah. Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve the permit for Clark Auto Wrecking?
So moved.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second, I'm sorry, second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. And thanks, Sarah, for
Sorry
joining us this
for
evening.
the, again, sorry for being late. I
That's
really,
okay.
truly-
That's okay. Give us time to have another discussion. So, okay. So the next item on the agenda is to get an update on Lot 032, and Marianne Antonellis, our librarian, is here. So Marianne, I'm going to just turn this over to you to give us the update, and then we will see if there are any questions.
Okay, hi everybody. So I've been working on environmental testing on Lot 032, and after quite a bit of effort, it finally things came together, and over the past couple of weeks, a lot has happened. So on Friday, November 11th, Fuss and O'Neill was on site, and they collected soil samples from 7 20-foot soil borings, back around in a perimeter around where bore 9 was. So back at the area of the former Air Force radio tower, about 1,300 feet from Leverett Road. They did 7 20-foot soil borings, and then they installed a monitoring well, and they took, and so they tested those soil borings on site for vapors. And then depending on the vapor readings they got, that determined where the next boring would be done. And then they took samples, and those samples have been sent off to the laboratory. And then they took samples from the soil they came out from where they put in the monitoring well, and they'll be collecting a water sample from that and sending it off for testing. And then last Friday on November 18th, Fuss and O'Neill was back on site, and also we had representation from the Department of Environmental Protection. Joseph Cerruti, he's the Underground Injection Control Program Coordinator, was here, and he actually supervised the testing that happened in the site of the former garage where there was a floor drain. So he did a lot of measuring. I got to lot 032 at 7:30 a.m. and he was already there and was measuring and had flags set up. And we weren't expecting anyone until 8 o'clock, but the highway department came right over and installed the straw wattles around the site. And then Joseph Cerruti asked Tim to dig first outside of the perimeter of where the garage had been to see if he could find the floor drain, and we found it right away. We found the pipe that extended from the drain towards the east side of the property. And so then after finding that, they tried to find the terminus of the drain by digging another pit further east. And then they went and they found the start of the drain, where the drain was underneath the building. And they took soil samples from where the drain was, underneath where the drain was in the building, and then at the end of the final pit that they dug. So they dug 3 pits and took soil samples. The PID device didn't register any fumes of VOCs on site, but they sent it off for laboratory testing, and we'll get all of the test results back in a couple of weeks. And then we've been working on the ANRAD, and so Fuss and O'Neill did a wetland delineation. It was reviewed by Stockman Associates, and then Fuss and O'Neill returned to lot 032 and did some further subsurface investigation. Today, they provided a response to Stockman's peer review. And the next thing is that Emily Stockman and Fuss and O'Neill will meet on lot 032 again to review the new wetland data that was collected based on her recommendations. And I'll have that report. I'll have the Fuss and O'Neill response with the new mapping posted on the library's environmental page by the end of the weekend. So I think that's everything. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Select board members, Eric or Melissa, do you have any questions?
No, I have a question, but I'm not sure if it's placed well here. Or maybe it's placed with the other conversation. So I'll hold it for the other one, I think.
Eric?
Yeah, I have some questions for some of the other related things. I think this is a good report from Mary Ann. I think it's fair to say it's things are moving forward. That's how you would sum it up in one sentence, right? That's my sense of that.
Right. I did leave one thing out. So there's one other concern that's been raised on lot 032 is some of the debris piles, and I was working on getting a proposal from Fuss and O'Neill because Fuss and O'Neill is our licensed site professional, and the DEP recommends that you consult a licensed site professional when you have environmental concerns on a site. So I was working on getting a proposal from them to do some investigation in the areas where the Conservation Commission has expressed concerns about debris piles. And then the Conservation Commission has kind of put the brakes on that process for now. I had said that I would do that, and the Conservation Commission was concerned that I didn't know where all the debris piles were. And I had asked the Conservation Commission to meet me at the site, and they have declined to do that. So, Fuss and O'Neill is waiting for more information from us before they provide a proposal for doing further investigation in those debris piles. I will say that in one of the areas that the Conservation Commission has expressed concern about the debris piles, we did do a soil boring there last summer and tested for PCBs and VOCs and a whole list of things, and it was negative for all of that. But we are sort of standing by and waiting to do that when we have cooperation from the Conservation Commission.
Miriam, I see your hand. I just want to, I just had a couple of questions for Mary Ann or clarifications about the testing that was done or the holes that were dug around the floor drain. So can you just explain why that was done? We had tested there before last summer, and then there's a state DEP has guidelines around whether or not there's a floor drain, and we're actually looking for things other than oil. Is that correct?
Right. There's a whole sort of list of things that are tested for. And so it's, oil, gasoline, PCBs, and then heavy metals. And we didn't test for heavy metals before. And then while we were doing the testing, Fuss and O'Neill also took samples, and they're going to be testing for PFAS, which is not required by DEP. But we know we have concerns about that in Shutesbury, so we're testing for that too. So there were 2 soil borings done underneath where the building was last summer. Both of those tests were negative. And I'll say that most of the testing that was done last summer wasn't required by DEP. The testing underneath the debris piles that Becky coordinating having removed was required. But the other testing was something that I contacted DEP about and did voluntarily because I wanted to, because we had done a bunch of testing in 2012 and it was all negative, but I wanted to I just wanted to sort of do our due diligence and be sure that we tested for things and we were sure that those negative findings were confirmed a third time, and they were, and so now we're doing it even another time.
Thanks. I just want to give again Eric or Melissa a chance to speak before. I'm going to open it up. Eric and Melissa, are you okay with taking some questions from the public?
I just have one I think it's a quick question. I hope it is anyway. And that is the borings on B9. I presume if there are things found there, and it sounds to me through the grapevine like that will be the case, who pays for that? Or is there a chance that we won't pay for that? Let me ask it that way. Does anyone know the answer to that question? I mean, the Air Force obviously put the stuff there. We didn't put it there.
Somebody, Becky, do you want to?
Stressed and overwhelmed that you feel like you need to talk to someone about it.
Hello, somebody has their microphone. Please make sure if you're not speaking that your microphone is turned off. Thanks. Becky, did you want to address that?
Can you see me and hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I was just gonna say that we're gonna initially addressing the issues in parallel to bringing, once the reporting is done, that will be brought to the Army Corps of Engineers attention. We don't expect an immediate response where they're going to come in and take care of it. It's going to be a much, potentially, we will be soliciting their support and asking them to do that, but we want to move ahead quickly and do the work and potentially get reimbursed by them when it's complete.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Hearing no other questions, I'll take a couple of questions. Miriam, you were first.
Thanks. So I just wanted to respond to Mary Ann's comments and offer the commission, the board, a couple of clarifications. So the Conservation Commission has not declined to go out and look at the property. What I shared with Mary Ann was that we need to discuss it as a commission and make a decision. She was emailing me and asking if I would go out with her. And I think this is a decision we have to discuss as a commission. And I think we are planning to set up a meeting with the select board to talk about permitting plans in December. I think we're hoping that the select board will propose some dates. And I think that that would be an excellent time for us to have those conversations about what role we want to have in pointing out areas of debris for the town to look at for cleanup.
Okay, Zipporah. Just need, there you go.
Thank you. Just for most of us of the public here, a lot of this is pretty technical and opaque. And I know I'm not alone in just being really concerned about the safety of the drinking water supply for the library. And how does this testing relate to that? And, you know, it's like a lot of Shutesbury wells are very deep. They're like hundreds of feet deep. So is this surface level testing reflecting what's going on deeper? Or are we gonna have to like wait until a well is drilled for the library to actually find out if it's safe?
Mary Ann, do you want to answer that?
So I can't answer it completely, but one thing that we did do at Lot 032 is so the town has a monitoring well there. A number of years ago, the town installed monitoring wells around town to measure the water table. And we did test the groundwater at that monitoring well for PFAS and hazardous chemicals. And it wasn't potable water because it hadn't been used as a drinking well, but it wasn't contaminated water. They said that if it were going to be used as a drinking well, the well would have to be conditioned, but that wasn't our intention. So and then the parsonage, which is you know, a few hundred feet up the road, I don't know how many hundred feet, but not far from Lot 032, they just put a new well in. You know, so they put a well in, and it is 700 feet deep, but they did get potable water. So, and then one of the neighbors of Lot 032 does have PFAS in their water, but another neighbor does not have PFAS in their water. So they, and if, so far we're not finding, other than at Bore 9, which is quite a distance from where the library will be. And when we tested 4.9 last summer, and then we tested that monitoring well, and also we did a soil boring pretty close to that monitoring well. And those were about halfway from 4.9 to the front of the lot, and there were no hazardous chemicals there. So it doesn't appear that gasoline or whatever chemicals were spilled during the time that the radio tower there are traveling to the front of the lot. And none of the other testing we've done has shown any hazardous chemicals. So, and our licensed site professional who are, charged by the DEP to evaluate the health of the lot are confident that we will be able to safely put a library there.
Okay, I see a couple more hands and then we're gonna move on in the agenda. So, Rob?
Thank you. Quick question, really. Has the town had any previous discussion at all with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers regarding their financial liability? And if so, did they give a preliminary opinion?
Becky, you want to answer that?
Yes, I did have about 4 rounds of discussion. They were trying, I received a lengthy tutorial on how they obtain their funds and how they have to get funded through different, pots of money through the federal government in a 2-year cycle. And so they were explaining that even, that they could initiate some work when they take responsibility, but it would not be done quickly. They have long lead times, I'm sorry, into accomplishing these things. So we have, this matter is still active. It's, they are aware of it. They've been waiting to get the test results, which were unfortunately delayed for most of the summer, but these are forthcoming, and the discussions with them will get serious again once they're received. And we did have serious discussions with them earlier on.
Okay, thank you. But you used the word when and you said when they take responsibility. Did they commit to taking responsibility, or did they say if we take responsibility?
They were trying to argue that the test results, they were trying to argue about methodology of the test results, saying that they showed, that they actually were in compliance at a prior, when they originally removed the tank, but they did not follow DEP's guidance when they removed the tank. So DEP does not consider them out of, they do not see that the work they did then was sufficient. And if there are test results, it will have to get cleaned up and they will be held responsible.
They will be. There is legal mechanism for that.
Yeah, it's called hire lawyers and go to our legislators. It's not, it will be a lengthy process if we are pursuing the Army Corps of Engineers. And I know a call has already been put into them, alerting them that we've done additional testing and expect to be hearing from us very soon. So I'm just, I said I'd take one more question. Jill, I know you had your hand up. Mike, if it's like a minute, it's fine, but I want to try and stick to the schedule. So Jill, if you could keep it brief, and then Mike, if there's time.
Yes, it was my understanding, Becky, that the Army Corps of Engineers has said it is not their responsibility, that we own the land, and we should have done due diligence environmentally before we bought the land, and that it is the town's responsibility now. Is that not correct?
That is not correct.
So what is correct? They didn't say it is our responsibility?
They've never said it's our responsibility. They are very clear that while they did not own the property and have never owned the property, I don't know who started that rumor, but they leased the property from the owner back at back at that time. They have not said they are not responsible.
Okay, Mike, you have a minute?
Sure, I'll make it quick.
Okay, thanks.
So it's my understanding there's been a lot of dumping being done on lot 032 with different materials, some above ground, some below ground. And it seems to me, if I'm following this correctly, that the way all this debris, all this trash, all this contamination is going to be located is Mary Ann and Miriam are going to go out and identify it. If that is correct, I'm pretty uncomfortable with that being the solution to finding everything. And if it's not correct, then how is all this stuff going to be found?
That opens up a can of worms. And so I don't want to address that now, Mike. I think that's a legitimate question that should be directed to the Conservation Commission. I really want to move on. If there's something that's really critical, you tell me, but this discussion could go on for hours and we have lots to do. Mary Ann, do you have an answer to Mike's question?
I'd like to respond. So Mike, what the DEP would tell us to do is that they would say to consult with a licensed site professional and have help them, give them a scope of what you want them to look at, and then they would make a proposal for investigating the debris piles. We already had a site professional do some of that last summer, and I was working on getting a proposal from Fuss and O'Neill to do that again now, outside of the scope of services that they're already contracted for, and we're waiting for the Conservation Commission to provide a little bit more guidance. But it will be a licensed site professional who, so engineers whose job it is to do environmental assessments and testing, who will recommend the appropriate exploration given the conditions on the site.
Thanks. I'm not taking any more questions, but Miriam, you have the floor now. So if you want to use some of your time.
I'll be very quick just to respond that I think the Conservation Commission has not decided with the select board what the nature of the permit applications are going to look like. It may be that the town wishes to have two separate notices of intent, one for the cleanup and one for the library.
Miriam, I really don't want to go into that right now. I think it's really complex and a lot of people here don't.
Okay. I just was saying we need to figure that out.
Yeah.
This hasn't been decided yet.
Okay, so Miriam, you have the floor. You have a request from the Conservation Commission for to hire an outside counsel. Do you want to just give us some background on that, and then we'll take questions from the select board?
The commission met and discussed wishing to have legal support and guidance around the permitting for Lot 032, and town council has advised us that she is unable to give us any legal support because she is representing the town in the role of being an applicant, and we're in the role of being the permitting authority here. So we need to have a different counsel, and Donna McNichol recommended that we find one. I came up with a name that Donna was familiar with and has worked with and felt would be a very good fit. So she's supporting that as well.
questions from, well, I guess I want to make one comment. I did speak with Donna, and she said she did not recommend that the conservation get outside counsel, but rather that she knew the outside counsel that you had already identified and said that that person was fine. But she made it very clear to me in a conversation that she did not recommend outside counsel. And further, she will not represent the town. So if in any permitting, so if the Conservation Commission chooses to engage outside counsel, the select board has to engage outside counsel too. Eric and Melissa, I want to give you a chance to.
Rita, just a question on what you said. So we would be not outside counsel as in not Donna?
As in not Donna, that is correct.
Even for the select board, if we need counsel, correct?
You know, she will not represent us in anything having to do with the permitting around Lot 032.
Okay.
Eric? You're muted, Eric.
There we go. Sorry about that. This request sort of strikes me as it's just potentially expensive, to say nothing else about how it treats things. It seems to me this whole thing at Lot 032 is just way more complicated. It has become way more complicated to me anyway than it has to be. I mean, we have licensed site professionals, we have wetland experts, we're paying them, the testing's being done, the meter's running. I mean, this is a job for scientists, not lawyers. And what I'm afraid of, especially in what led of what you just said, Rita, is that we'll have to hire our own counsel. This just strikes me as potential for a real skyrocketing legal cost situation, where they have a counsel and we have a counsel, and well, we all know where that's going to go. I've never seen one counsel, and it doesn't end up in court or something. It's just, you know, whatever. At least as importantly to me, it sort of represents a real, it sort of sets an adversarial tone. It sort of says, we have a lawyer, you got to get a lawyer. And it's just, you know, do we really want to be a town where we have this problem, or, you know, we have a situation, let's call it, on Lot 032 that everybody wants to solve. Nobody doesn't want to solve it. Everyone wants to solve it properly, legally, correctly. And why do we have to get lawyers involved in this? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I just, it's just crazy as far as I'm concerned. That's all.
Miriam, I'm going to give you the floor. I'm not going to take a lot of questions. You know, again, this is a request by the Conservation Commission for outside counsel, and I didn't hear a figure from you, Miriam, about what the expectation is as to the cost and where you are looking to secure the funding.
Thank you. So I just want to clarify that the commission voted to allow me to present this information tonight. We have no intention or desire to have anything end up in court, and that is not our desire. We are not interested in making things more adversarial. We want to make sure that we are doing things properly and that we're following the law. And it's a complex situation, and there's a lot of scrutiny on the commission right now, and we want to be very careful and thoughtful about what we're doing. And we decided we needed legal advice, and we need to have somebody present at some of the hearings that we can turn to when we have legal questions. And there is a precedent for Donna playing this role in complicated situations during public hearings for other kinds of permitting. She's come to Conservation Commission public hearings in the past, and she's done the same for the planning board. But in this circumstance, she can't be consulting with us, so we need another counsel. And my understanding was what maybe I have to go back and reread Donna's email, but what I believe she said is if you feel you need legal advice, you would need to have another attorney. And the commission voted to allow me to say that we feel we need legal advice. So that's what we're asking for. We can't get an outside counsel without approval from the select board. And some support for this from our town council. And usually in a circumstance, what we've been advised is when a town is the applicant and the Conservation Commission cannot access town council because of that, it's usually the town that pays for the legal expenses for the Conservation Commission, because ordinarily we would be relying on our town council to provide this service for us. But we can't because she's recusing herself. I didn't know she was recusing herself, but she's not available to us. So,
and she's not available to us either.
I understand that. And again, we're wanting to have somebody available to advise us, not because we want to go to court, because we don't want to go to court. So we don't want to make mistakes. We want to make sure we're doing things properly so that things go smoothly for the town. That is our goal. So the council that we consulted with, Elizabeth Goodman, charges an hourly rate. She thought that she could provide the service that we need for about, I think she thought about $2,500 maximum, which would include her coming to some meetings and maybe reviewing some documents. So that's what we're initially hoping for. If things got complicated and we're in a different zone where it's not just a matter of her coming to some meetings to advise us all, then we would have to revisit this. But right now, that's what we're just thinking about.
Comments, Melissa?
I have one question. Mary Ann, do you think you're at the moment where you need her to start doing that now?
Yes. We do. We're hoping to have her at our next hearing.
And what's the date of that again, Miriam?
December 8th.
Okay, thanks. Eric, questions?
No, I don't really have any questions. I wasn't implying that we would definitely end up in court. I wasn't suggesting that necessarily. I just know there's an old lawyer joke. If there's one lawyer in town, they're poor. If there's two lawyers in town, they each make a good living. If there's three lawyers in town, they're all rich. And I think that's true. I mean, the lawyers that's just the nature of the thing. And I'm not being critical of lawyers at all. I'm just saying that's what happens is here we go down this. It's a slippery slope to me. That's all. And as I've said before, I believe that the real issues here, to my mind, are scientific more than they're legal. And we're already paying scientists, both wetland professionals and licensed site professionals. We're doing testing, which has cost the town, I believe, as much as $55,000 already, and will in fact probably will cost us more. We know that. We know the meter's running. So I mean, there's just a limit to me where I just think it's we're spending money that I would wait. I mean, I'm not saying maybe come back down in a year or months or something and say, we're just absolutely up a stump. We have to figure out what to do here, but I can't see it now.
So I just have a couple of comments and then I see your hand, Miriam. So we are well into our legal line item that we control through town meeting. And we have some other stuff in the hopper, including having to hire now our own outside counsel. If you're hiring outside counsel, then we have to hire outside counsel. And So I would ask, I know you have some funds available to you, some trust funds. How much do you have, and why not use that? I'm not sure that we're going to have the funds that, we might have to go to the finance committee to secure money.
Can I respond?
Yeah.
So I just want to kind of respond to your comment, Eric, and I understand what you're saying about permitting decisions are based on scientific evidence, but they're also based on the application of the regulations, understanding of the regulations, and the legal ramifications of those applications. And it's complex. And what I can say is that the commission had a discussion in an executive session recently. And in that discussion, we came to a determination that we feel we are at some legal risk, some risk of legal exposure, not because we want to be adversarial, not because we want to go down a road that's going to cost the town money, but that we personally, as a commission, in our decision-making, feel we need a lawyer's advice that goes above and beyond what our third-party consultants can share with us. And so out of an abundance of caution, that's why we're asking for legal representation. And again, the idea is to make this all work more smoothly, not to jam anybody up. We have two sets of funds. We have a small quantity of funds in a fee fund that is for the bylaw, that's bylaw fees. And then we have a somewhat larger pot of money that is from fees collected for the Wetland Protection Act notices of intent fees. The funds in the bylaw fee, we have already allocated potentially for consultants for reviewing our bylaw regulations. If we need additional funding, you may have recalled that we had come to the select board several months ago and asked for some funding in order to hire a consultant to help us with revising our regulations. And we want to leave that wetland bylaw fund available in case we need additional money. So I have not discussed with the commission how whether they are willing to use the funds that are in the Wetland Protection Act notice of intent fee fund. The attorney that we consulted with said that she routinely is involved in situations where she swaps roles with an attorney who needs in a situation like this. She's done it with Donna many times. They've known each other for years. So I had expected it was going to be another simple situation, and that Donna would be able to continue in her role as counsel for the town. So I would have to take it back to the commission. Right now, we're not prepared to do that. We wouldn't be able to make a decision until our next meeting, and we were hoping to have an attorney present at our next meeting. So that puts us in a bind where we're supposed to have a public hearing on the 8th. We want to facilitate that hearing happening because that's in the best interest of the town. I was hoping that we would have everything squared away tonight so that we could have our counsel there. If we don't have counsel, it puts us in a very difficult position. So I'm really asking the select board for, some flexibility around this, I guess.
Eric, Melissa?
I think I've said my piece.
Yeah. I don't know. I wonder if there's other resources that conservation commissions have throughout the state that could help with that may not be fee-based.
I am not aware of any. And again, the problem is timing as well, because there's a hearing on the 8th. And even if there were, I'm not aware of any funds. If there were funds, it doesn't really solve the issue that we were hoping to have counsel on board for the 8th. because we feel like we need legal guidance in these.
I wasn't really talking necessarily about funds, Marion, but some person or some resource that's maybe not paying a lawyer that could help with some of that.
I reached out to the board of directors of the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissioners, and their advice was that we get our own counsel.
Can I just ask what this hearing is for on December 8th?
This is a hearing in order to review the wetland delineations for the ANRAD for Lot 032.
How have you done that before at other properties and other situations? You've done that without a legal presence, correct?
Sometimes we've asked Donna McNichol to be present because we felt we needed legal advice. And sometimes I've just consulted with Donna and not had her attend. And so she's been a resource whenever there's a legally complicated situation. So right now we don't have an attorney that we can reach out to for legal advice. And we've been advised by the people we would ordinarily consult with, like MACC, their helpline, that it's too complicated and we need our own counsel.
I am looking to Eric and Melissa about whether or not there's a motion here that one of you wants to make with regard to request. So it's for $2,500. Is that correct, Miriam?
Yes, we'll have to vote either way, right, Rita, up or down?
Yeah,
Yep.
Becky, I'm not taking comments, I'm sorry, from outside, just staff and select board on this, please.
So we'd have to vote up or down anyway in this case, right, Rita? Because it's I don't think we pass over something like this. You have a...
Well, I mean, we could pass over it if we wanted to just, send it back to the Conservation Commission to look at their own funding, at their own resources. I think there should be, I think we should have some sort of a vote.
Okay, so I'll just put it, I'll make the motion so we can vote, make the motion that we, I guess you make the opposite one. I'll make a motion that we ask the Conservation Commission to look in their own finances for legal funding.
Excuse me, you also have to give us authorization to have counsel. We can't, even if we had the funds.
Let me start there.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion that we authorize the Conservation Commission for legal advice.
For outside counsel?
Outside counsel within their own funding resources. So no, that's, I'm well, no one has to second it. I was just tossing it out there. We seem to be in a stalemate there for a moment.
I'll second it just for the purposes of voting, so we can vote on it.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Again, I see hands and I apologize. We are trying to keep a tight schedule here.
I have a whole nother perspective on this that might help you make a decision.
I'm sorry, Les, I just really, it opens up. So if I let you do it, then I have to let other people speak. So I apologize, but I'm trying to keep this meeting on course. So motion's been made and seconded. No further discussion by the select board? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Oh, no.
I don't know. I'm not really sure the legal. If it's, I'll say yes if it's within their own funds. I
I'll
guess
say
that's-
nay. I'll say nay just to be the bad guy.
That's fine. Sorry, Rita.
That's why you
All
get
right.
paid the big bucks. You gotta make a decision.
I say aye. Okay, so the motion has been passed to allow to give the selectmen's approval of hiring outside counsel, assuming and with the caveat that the Conservation Commission use its own funds. You know, I think the other option is for the Conservation Commission to look to the Finance Committee from their reserve funds. Okay, we are moving on. The next item on the agenda is to discuss a work site area restriction at lot 032. And just briefly, this is an item that I asked be put on the agenda and for discussion. And I know at the outset, issues or questions, excuse me, were raised about this not being previewed with the town. It hasn't been previewed with the select board. This is the first time we are discussing this. So no decisions have been made, no real policy has been stated. We don't conduct business outside of select board meetings. So the reason for putting it on the agenda tonight is to propose it. And if everybody is comfortable with moving forward, we will, but if we're not, we will take this up at a later meeting. So basically the idea is, or the concerns that have been raised have been about lot 032. It's been an active work site as detailed in Mary Ann's earlier report. All kinds of testing has been going on there. Lots of people have been on lot 032, from doing wetlands delineations to doing testing, soil borings, you know, all kinds of flags. And then last Friday, as Mary Ann pointed out, using a backhoe to do test pits there. And, you know, we have gotten word back, both from our consultants, our technical consultants, and from other town staff, as well as people from the outside about the amount of work that's going on there, and that it could quickly become a real safety issue. And I think a case in point was last Friday, you know, one individual, but it could have been a lot more, was on site as the highway department, DEP, our consultants, and our librarian representing the town were digging test holes. So there's heavy equipment there. There's people attempting to do all kinds of work, you know, soils testing, and it could be a really dangerous situation. That was one individual, but there's nothing to stop, you know, a lot of people from showing up, and safety is really paramount here. So I think what the board needs to think about, and I know Kristen has done some background checking because I requested that she do that, is to say, you know, what can we do to protect both the people doing the testing as well as the public who wants to observe. Nobody's saying that you can't come on to Lot 032. I'm getting all kinds of emails and, you know, how can you prohibit us from stepping onto public land? Well, that's not what we're talking about. You know, not talking about can you come and do an observation. We're not talking about limiting that. What we're talking about is not having interference when work is going on at Lot 032. And we will continue to have work at Lot 032. There'll be more work at Lot 032, I guarantee you. So what we want to talk about tonight, and again, we don't have to make any decisions tonight, but what we want to talk about in this open public session, which we included on the agenda, is whether or not we want to provide some way of setting up work zones and a perimeter when there's active work being done at Lot 032. So I am going to ask Kristen just to give us a little bit of background, because this is not an area that I'm particularly familiar with, and I know there is Mass General law around this.
Okay, hi everyone. Let's talk first about a work zone, because really, quite frankly, the most important thing here is everyone's safety. It's not just the safety of the people that want to come on to the lot during work, when the workers are there, but it's also the safety of the workers. It's the safety of those that are there, you know, making sure that they're doing their jobs properly and that sort of thing. So really, it does become a huge safety issue. So I want everybody to just think about, you know, when you're driving down the road, and, you know, a lot of us today went down Leverett Road into Leverett on Shutesbury Road, and there was a very big construction area that they were putting stop signs in and things like that. So I want everyone to kind of just think about a work zone that is on the road just for a minute with me. And I recognize these are different things, but hang with me for a second. So we're driving down the road and we come up to a work zone where the highway department or, you know, tree work is being done. And we have to stop traffic at times to allow the safety of those involved in that site to continue to be safe for whatever reason. So that's why we sometimes have police officers there or flaggers there to stop and slow traffic, divert them around. If you were to go and stop your vehicle and walk onto that work site, you would be escorted off for your safety, for everyone's safety. Now, that doesn't mean that when the work site is finished and, you know, maybe it's still coned off, that you can't go and drive on there or go into there, right? So it's a sort of temporary work zone, very fluid sort of nature of things. Okay, so during that time that, you know, there needs to be safety concerning this zone, if we're going to call it a zone or you know, plot, whatever we want to call it, during that time that work is happening and potential safety risks can happen. Remember, everyone, we also have to adhere to OSHA and things of that nature. They're very strict. But during that time, a temporary no trespass is sort of instilled. And that is sometimes visually. It doesn't have to have a sign, no trespass. You know, it's just a sort of like, you're not coming into this space if you're not allowed in this space for everyone's safety. That's Mass General Law 266-120. It does initially state private property, but it also involves public property, and that's Commonwealth via Eagleson for all my law nerds like me out there. So basically, it would be a very fluid, somewhat dynamic at times situation where during what is considered a work zone, please don't misinterpret, work zone doesn't mean just heavy machinery. Work zone could mean that people are there testing, that there's a shovel involved. It's encompasses a very large sort of area of work. So during that work zone time, it could be, if you wanted, designated as, please don't come within this perimeter. So it could be made that. I feel that that's, just my opinion, very reasonable, because I would hate to have to respond to a work zone where there's been an accident of any kind, not only because I don't want anyone to get injured when they don't need to be, but also now because then it becomes a work zone accident, and then we're calling in OSHA and everything else to, now, investigate. So does that answer your question, Rita? Yes, it does fall within the guidelines of the law if that is something that you wish to do. And I would say the reasonableness of it is when we are declaring that the area is being worked in, or whichever area, then at that time, we are going to ask that people refrain from entering that space. And then when it is no longer an active work zone, then, people could enter the space. It then comes into discussion as how would we, show that that is a work zone? How would we, define that? And then, Mass General Law does also state, to technically, signs don't have to be posted. However, my personal perspective is, I believe in, everyone knows at this point, transparency. And I think that, if we post signs at the time that we're needing to do something like that, if that's what you're choosing to do, and then also really getting the word out there so that there's no confusion, and people have the education on that. Is that what you were looking for?
Yes, thank you. So Eric and Melissa, and then I'm going to open it up for some comments, but I want to give the select board the opportunity, members, the opportunity to jump in here.
Eric, if you don't have something right away, I can jump in for a second.
No, go.
I think we're well into the pre-construction phase of things, which makes this a construction site, mostly pre-construction site. I think Kristen's right. It is definitely, and Rita, you were right too. It is public safety. The question I had from earlier is are those test pits closed in after they take the horse? Okay. So there's not open holes. Okay. That was another question but I think, in my opinion, I think that we could determine it a work site area and put up a sign for transparency, Kristen, that says, work zone, do not cross, or work zone, no admittance, or whatever, however we want to put it, that can be put up, taken down, staked out, however we want to do it. But I think it's important at this point to do that, because we are, like Eric said, the time is ticking on some of these consultants, and we want them to do their work efficiently, effectively, and get us the results as quickly as they can. So that's where I come from. And just as a professional thing, you don't want OSHA to come, and you want to avoid that at all costs. So,
Eric.
Well, first of all, I'm sympathetic to the notion that, this is America, everybody's free, or whatever, all that business, whatever you want to say. I'm sympathetic to that. I understand where some sort of pushback has come from this. I get it, but I also think Kristen just made a very articulate, very good example of gave very good examples of why you can have a very limited no trespassing area, at least on a temporary basis. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, it's a safety issue. I think that's all it is for me. And that's fine. I think the idea of, like, when you're saying about the lever thing today, that's a classic example to me of, like, you can't just be there in the way while people are trying to use big equipment and dig holes or whatever they're doing. You just can't be there. That's just simple.
So as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to take some comments. I'm going to limit it. I mean, we're already way behind on our agenda here. So I just ask that if you have, when I recognize you, if you could just limit your comments to no more than 2 minutes. So I'm just going to take them, kind of go across the screen. So Zipporah.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I really appreciate everything about safety, and I totally agree with that. And I'm looking at the Mass General Laws, Part 1, Title 2, Chapter 21E, Section 14, where it says that, which for to everyone else, Chapter 21E has to do with hazardous waste sites and cleaning them up and testing them. And Shutesbury does have a notice of responsibility from the Department of Environmental Protection to do that on Lot 032. And this section 14 says that the town may appoint from members of the potentially affected public an individual or individuals to inspect the site on behalf of the community. And they shall be given reasonable opportunities, skipping over some stuff, to inspect such site prior to, during, and after the implementation of major response actions, and may bring with them on such inspections experts on oil or hazardous materials releases or responses. Now, this is a completely different from the safety that issues that are certainly very valid, and setting up a work perimeter temporarily, it's great. And I think that at least one person from the public should be able to observe and inspect when these things are going on, someone who actually knows about this stuff, so that when a hole is dug, they can look in the hole and go, wow, you didn't dig it deep enough, or what's that over there? I'm going to take a picture of that. I really feel very strongly that there needs to be public observance, objective public observance of what's going on, just to increase transparency and public trust.
Zipporah, I'm just going to respond, and then I'm going to move on to other people. If my recommendation would be that, if we decide to go ahead with a policy, that obviously it's going to be done with permission, that there'll be people who are going to be going into the work zone. We're not identifying work zones and then not allowing anybody in. So if there is, as per what you were just citing, an advisory group or whatever public group that's recognized, and they want access to the site, then they could ask for it. So it's not that nobody can go. And I'm sorry, I don't want to have a discussion. I have a bunch more hands. So thank you for your comments. Rob?
Thank you. First, Kirsten, thank you very much for clarifying that a work zone wasn't the entire property. The work zone is that intersection, not all of Leverett Road. Second thing, for those of you who don't know me, I've been visiting job sites for 45 years as part of my job. So I speak with some degree of expertise on this. I am completely in favor of establishing a safe perimeter. One question that I have is, are all town employees who are entering that work zone, have they been trained with the necessary OSHA training, including confined space, because an open trench is a confined space? And are they wearing the proper safety gear, including hard hats and high-vis vests? So have we provided the people we're sending into this area with the proper training and with the proper equipment? The project manager would be responsible for that enforcement.
Thanks, Rob. That's very good point. Amanda?
Hi, thank you. Amanda Alex, 16 Lakeview Road. I just wondered kind of what prompted this. It sounds like there's some incident people are talking about. Was there a situation whereby someone was trying to interfere with the work being done? And was there an actual safety issue? Was there some sort of danger that someone was going to get hurt? I'm just wondering what the genesis of this whole discussion is. Thank you.
The genesis was we were contacted. It was discussed with our licensed site professionals that were concerned about people going onto the site during active times of testing. So yes. Kristen, I think you were next, and then Miriam.
Yes, I just wanted to respond to that. Were there any potential safety issues? Yes. The most recent site work that was happening, there were people that were not involved in the immediate, meaning not the people that were part of that actual site visit. And it could have potentially been an unsafe situation had one of the officers not stopped by to be there. So yes, the potential for it is great.
Miriam, and then please use the raise hand feature, and I'm going to just devote like 4 more minutes to this.
Rita, Katie Egan can't raise her hand function, but she has her hand up.
All right, so Miriam and then Katie.
Hi, thanks. I had to mute and I wasn't listening to part of it, but I'm assuming that this restriction would not apply to the Conservation Commission coming on site visits with the applicants.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Katie?
Yeah, I am just a little bit concerned about how this all came up. I appreciate the safety features, absolutely. Nobody should be, stepping in front of large machineries or going right in front of where, big ditches are being dug. Absolutely, that completely makes sense. I do want to remind people, though, that it is absolutely a First Amendment right to observe and report on public lands what our public government, town officials are doing. We may not like what somebody has to say, and that's okay. We don't have to, but this is a really important right. And in the interest of really maintaining town, good feelings between us. We're a really small community. Let's not try to paint one group as these guys need to stay out and these are the good guys. It kind of feels like that. And I really wanted to express that to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. I don't think that's the intent of good guys and bad guys. We're talking about safety. That's the real reason.
I hear that. I hear you saying that. I do.
Okay. Kristen, and then Meryl and Mary Lou, and that's it. We're going to have to move on. So,
Katie,
Kristen.
I'm so pleased that you brought up that First Amendment right, because the First Amendment I take extremely seriously. We do have a civil rights officer that is designated for the police department, and I did consult with him. The First Amendment, yes, you have the rights to do certain things, but The way that the law is written, this is not going to be very popular for me to say, I recognize this, but the way the law is written is just because there is public land or a public building doesn't necessarily give everyone the right to access either exclusively or at certain times. And I promise you that my intent in this has nothing to do with bad guys or good guys. I think that everybody's investment in this is important. The problem is it's not just big machinery or big ditches. You have to remember we have outside visitors from our town who are coming in to, to inspect, to discuss, to perform tests, to survey, to all, and they need to feel safe as well. And this is a very heightened situation. There are people with very strong reactions that are very passionate, and it can be perceived by other people that do not know them that they are feeling like people that are coming on to the property when they don't actually have to be as close as they are, don't have to be able to observe, might feel attacking. And I tell you that because that was some word that I received. So safety doesn't just mean physical safety. Safety also means, spatial safety and emotional safety. And I want everyone to feel like they're safe throughout this process. I really do.
Thanks, Kristen. Beryl?
Thank you. And I think the discussion has been very interesting here. I worked for the State Highway Department for a number of years and for consulting engineering, and safety is always an important issue, and controlling the work site is really important. One of the things that really isn't being said here, though, is that we talked about an adversarial situation, and it's already adversarial in town. We know that, and getting more lawyers involved does not help that situation. So I'm glad to hear that that's not going charging ahead. I also, in my role working with the State Highway Department, I worked with conservation commissions all up and down the valley. And we're talking about a piece of land, not a huge, humongous area. It's a site. And I've never seen the level of detail and overwork to try to get involved with what's actually happening on the property in terms of protecting the wetlands. That piece of property has been mowed and lived on, and if you ask anyone walking by, they would never tell you that there were any wetlands on that property because it's been a property in use as a piece of land for many, many years. So much of this just seems to me such overkill, and actually an attempt to try to slow down the process of building a library on that piece of property. There's been a ton of testing done for quote hazardous waste. There's basically been none found in the area where the library intends to go. It's way in the back of the property in a small area from a gas tank that was pulled up. And the other discussion about debris all around the property, it is so overstated. To me, it's absurd. If you go to most of the older properties in town.
Meryl, can you wrap it up?
I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, okay,
that there are, people had dumps on their properties. Everyone did in town, and you could just randomly pick properties around town and you would find these. So I'm just stating that so much of this to me seems over the top in terms of the level of effort that's going into it. It's costing us all more tax dollars than it needs to, and it's just really unnecessary. So I'd like the, especially Conservation Commission, to really think hard about the direction they're going, because it just seems to me, as someone not on the commission, that they're just trying to slow down and screw up the project. And it's very unfortunate because the town strongly wants this project with a great majority of people in town. Thank you.
Mary Lou, and then I see a couple more hands, but I'm going to make a proposal after I take Mary Lou's comment. So I'm not going to recognize anybody else, but Mary Lou, go ahead.
Hi, yes.
Make it brief, please.
Yes, of course. Okay, so while I understand all the concerns about people's safety, and I really appreciate it being spoken here, my question is, and I'm echoing to what Katie says, that as the public, we have a right to know what's going on. So there are individuals in town who are experts, who are soil scientists, who are hydrologists. So should they come forth and request permission to be on the lot during, now it's all of a sudden called a work site, that's news to me, would permission to them be granted? That's number one. Number two, not everyone wants to go there. There's not a big gang of people who are going to rush and run around and have a party while these hired people are doing their work, so that anybody's going to interrupt them. That's not, it sounds to me that that's what's being spoken, but that's not what's happening. So
Thanks,
thank you.
Mary Lou.
Okay.
John, I'm just going to make a comment, and then you can tell me if you still need to feel like I'm going to make a proposal. Let's put it that way. I'm not prepared this evening without a written policy to vote on anything. I think, we have some real expertise in town. Folks have already spoken this evening, and what I'm going to propose is that we draft a policy for the select board to review, and if there are comments that people want to submit regarding that policy, and maybe Melissa, since you're in the business, you'd be willing to work on this. But I heard Rob, I heard Meryl, there are other people who, and Kristen obviously would be a really good resource. So what I propose is that, we get something drafted that's clear about, what is the policy, when is it going to be, what would be designated a work zone and when, and what are the rules regarding people coming when something is designated as a work zone. And then to Rob's point, just about what else do we need to be?
Confined spacious and OSHA training, Rob, I think is what you said.
So.
Sorry, yes, that is what I said. There's also a hazardous materials training unit that people should have.
Okay, so, that's Melissa and Eric, does that sound reasonable to you?
Yes.
That we get a policy drafted, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds fine. I am also not ready to vote unless we have a specific policy in front of us to vote on.
Right.
So yeah, great idea.
That makes sense.
Okay, so I think I see hands going down. Thank you. Okay,
Robert,
so
1 second, Rita, Robert and Meryl, if you have anything that you'd like, can you both send me your email address in case we have questions? Kristen, I have yours. So.
Yes, I can certainly do that.
Okay, thank you. And phone number too.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
great.
Me too.
Thank you.
Yes, please, Meryl. Thank you.
Thank you all for your comments, and stay tuned. So this will, I hope, be on the agenda for the next select board meeting. Okay, so we're only 40 minutes behind schedule here. It's going to be a late dinner tonight. And thank you, everybody who participated. We really do, appreciate your comments. So the next item on the agenda is the right of first refusal for the Greenbound property. And this is a property that I believe was in chapter 61B. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And in cases where property is being taken out of chapter 61. There's one like forest. People who put their properties into chapter 61 get some real tax benefits because the property is preserved. It can only be used for agriculture, forestry, that sort of thing. And when the property is being sold and is being taken out of chapter 61, the town gets the right of first refusal. So does the town want to purchase the property? And what happens is the Planning Board, Conservation Commission, and Historical Commission get to weigh in about that, whether or not they want to advise the select board about should the town purchase. So this is a property that's on Wendell Road. I don't remember the exact acreage. There is a purchase and sale agreement that's been executed. And I believe, I hope we have all the other boards, because I know that the prospective property owners, the current owner and the realtor are all anxious to hear back from the town about whether or not we want to buy it. Again, I don't know, how many acres is it, Becky?
28.
28 acres, and
28.
the purchase price was 209.
59,000.
$59,000.
259.
Have we heard back from all of the other committees?
I'm hoping that Miriam will report back tonight. We have not heard back.
Okay, Miriam?
Hi. Oh, I did CC the select board on an email, but we are not making any recommendations about this property. So we're passing on advising a purchase.
And Jeff, I see your hand from you representing the planning board.
Yes, last night we had a discussion about this property and agreed also not to make a recommendation for town acquisition of this piece. I mean, generally, if these pieces are of interest to the town, it's either that the town has already had their eye on them for one purpose or another, or a group of citizens nearby, often nearby, generates a campaign in support of town acquisition. And neither of those was true in this case. So planning board didn't feel that the town should pursue this piece.
Okay. And I assume the Historic Commission had no interest. Is that?
That's my understanding.
Okay. All right.
They were notified, Rita.
I'm sorry?
They were notified
Okay.
of the situation and we didn't hear back.
Okay.
Rita, I do see two hands if you're.
I know. I'll take a couple of quick questions if you have, Penny and then Rob.
Hi. As a member of the Open Space Committee, I believe the Open Space Committee should be notified about these in advance as well. And to the best of my knowledge, we were not. I don't think the Open Space Committee would be interested in this particular parcel, but it would be good just to make sure your list of people being or committees being notified is complete. Thanks.
Becky, do you know, was something sent to the Open Space Committee by the, is that a statutory requirement? Was something sent? It's not.
It's not a statutory requirement. The applicant met their statutory requirement. Open Space historically has been a subcommittee of Concom and should have heard through Concom, but we will add Open Space to the list, Penny, and I'm sorry. I know I did check. I think I checked the plan and didn't see the property there.
Okay, thank you.
Rob?
Thank you. The library and lot 32 have been interlinked completely. I do not have an opinion whether lot 32 is suitable or not suitable. I just don't know. If it is not suitable, would this property that is up for sale make a good alternate site?
Uh, It's a good question, but I don't know that anybody, I certainly don't have the appetite to look at this, you know, for a whole variety of reasons, not the least of which is the fact that it's $269,000 that we don't, you know, have, and we have a, you know, we have a site, we have Lotto 32. Lotto 32, we have to resolve whether or not the library was going there. So we have that obligation. We're pretty far down that road. We've invested a lot of money. We've done a lot of testing. We need to complete the job. So.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. Wish I had a different answer, but Jeff, and then that's it.
I just want to say that probably this is an old farmstead, this lot. It used to have the yellow house on it, the rental house. That was sectioned off. But this is old farm property, and you know, like most old properties like that in Shutesbury, it'll also have a bevy of rural dumps and other kinds of things on it, just as the property that I'm sitting on has on it. So going away from 032 and over to this one is not really going to change the scenario much at all.
Talk about a can of worms, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so do we need a motion to not exercise our, am I saying this right? Not exercise our right of first refusal? Okay.
So moved. We'll just leave it at that. So moved.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. All right, I'm going to try to get through this night with my voice intact, but
Okay.
it's not, it's not looking good. Okay, so the next, Jeff, your hand is still up. If you want to take it down. The next item on the agenda is the Emergency Management Director and Deputy. And Becky, I'm going to turn this over to you to describe what the select board needs to do this evening.
Okay. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Can everyone see that? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Don't know if I disappear or what. Okay, so the situation is this. Back in the early part of July, the select board appointed a new fire chief, Lenny Zerwanka. For the last, I think it's about 7 or 8 years, our emergency management position director was the fire chief. But Lenny had very little experience in this area, and our police chief had more experience in this area. And the select board during that exchanges during his Lenny's hiring and discussions with the police chief agreed to take over the emergency management director position. It might be a temporary basis that will be determined as they work together. Lenny will take on the deputy emergency management director position. So the basic responsibilities on the job description are going to be removed from the fire chief and then added to the police chief. And that's what we are doing tonight, is voting that change in job description, because the activity has already manifested itself with our police chief with only a short turnaround, having just learned about the PG grant, has it worked with the fire chief in putting together a new EMPG grant that is due out in just a few days before the end of the month. So I'm bringing this to the select board so that they can do the paperwork to back up their discussions and the agreements that were made between the police and fire chief.
Questions, Melissa, Eric?
No.
So the request would be to accept the transfer of emergency management director function to the job description of the police chief and remove it from the function of the fire chief and make the fire chief the deputy emergency management director.
And this has all been reviewed and accepted by our police chief and our fire chief, correct? And the personnel committee.
Yes.
Everybody's comfortable?
Is there any monetary, is there any monetary consideration one way or the other for this to happen?
That was not, there has not been under discussion at all.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to accept the change in the police and fire chief's job descriptions and the appointment of the police chief as the emergency management director, the fire chief as the deputy emergency management director, and a police officer as an assistant emergency management director?
Just as the fire chief had appointed one of his staff as the assistant emergency management director, our police chief can speak to it, but she has personnel on her staff that are experienced with emergency management that she would like to have assisting her.
Okay, so I've made a motion. No, I'm not. Actually, I didn't make
Asking for a motion.
I'm asking for a motion.
So I'll make a motion that we
Do what I just said.
Yeah, I'll so move for what Rita said, and switch the two, fire chief to police chief for the director, police chief to the director, and the fire chief to the deputy director, emergency management.
Is there a second?
I'll second that. I think that's a little sticky, but yeah. No, I'll second that. I'll second that, seriously.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. Okay, Kristen, you are up next regarding the emergency management grant.
Yay.
Okay, how perfect. I just became the director officially, and now here we go. As Becky so eloquently stated, this did fall in my lap. I've had a very short time to be working on it. I did go down and talk with Chief Lenny in regards to some thoughts that he had on items that he may be able to utilize in the town with his department for some items. So I have put together this. I should also add that I have been in touch with Chris Masden, who's our representative in our area, to make sure that I'm sort of plugging along as I need to be with the grant proposal. So today I'm coming to the select board to discuss the items that I would like to propose for the EMPG grant for this year. We are still to receive $2,700 in a grant, which is to be matched by us as usual per usual with every year. So the items that we are looking, and I apologize to the town because we typically with emergency management, we want to be able to have a meeting and sort of discuss the needs of the town in regards to emergency management, and then we can move forward with what we want to propose. That didn't happen because of the turnaround and the switching and everything that happened. So I apologize to the town, but I think what I have to bring forward will be very pleasing. So Chief Lenny has requested some cordless floodlights that would be able to be utilized for the town and through his department as well, being carried on their emergency vehicles. The current ones that he has right now do not hold a charge, and they are older and they're not as useful. So he's requested to have 6 cordless floodlights, and to match that, he needs the 6 accompanying batteries, lithium batteries that go with that to be able to be interchanged out for them. That does fall within the guidelines of on the equipment list that we are allowed to have through this grant. I won't bore you with what section it falls under, but I triple checked and it does. So he has requested that. That brings us to an amount of, stand by, without shipping costs, $1,985.82 approximately, which leaves us a little bit of money left over. And then I would also like approval of purchasing through the grant a communication board. This communication board would be utilized by way of assisting people who are nonverbal, autistic, persons with aphasia, persons with that have suffered strokes, nonverbal. And the communication board that I am looking into has 300 different available signs within the board that you could bring up and communicate with someone via pictures and audible sounding. Something that's used quite frequently in even in schools with nonverbal and autistic young people. So that is the speech tablet. It's a Samsung Android tablet, and that is on sale for $484.99. To accompany that, I would also like to purchase some communication boards that are not electronic, that are also able to be, they're laminated, they're folded in half, they can be carried in bags. There are some specific for fire and EMS and some specific for police. And I think that would be something that would be helpful to have in the event of a large emergency that could affect the whole town. If the town were gathering in one spot, multiple people could have these communication boards to be able to communicate if that need should arise. That then would bring the total up to just under the 2,700 mark, but with shipping costs and things, it'll bring us right on point. So those are the items that I am looking to get approval for. That being said, there are some things that I need Becky to do, as well as the select board. Becky, you'll be familiar with the CASL, the CASL form, and the SPARK form. So those will need to be filled out and signed by the select board as well. Basically, it's the contractor authority signatory list, basically who's allowed to sign for this grant. And then the SPARK is the sub-recipient pre-award something that is also needed before I send in the grant. Now, the grant is due on the 30th. I apologize again for coming to you so late, but I've only had this for a couple of weeks myself. The application I have almost preliminarily completed with your pending your approval to finish that and have that signed.
Thank you. Thank you, Kristen, for putting all that together. That wasn't a small amount of work.
Rita, you're on mute. Thank you, Melissa. Yeah.
You're welcome.
We can't hear you, Rita. You're mute.
Sorry, I was coughing and clearing my throat. Kristen, I just had one question about would the communication boards like be shared by the police department and the fire department, or you think it's mostly the police department where?
So I think one of the important things to remember when it comes to the emergency management is this is going to be able to be utilized throughout the town, and it's to be used for purposes of the emergency management team. So yes, it could be used by me, it could be used by the fire department, it could be used by you if you needed it. So you know, in the event of an emergency, these things, I've also requested Chief Lenny provide me with a list of all items that he's had, inventory of the items he's had from grants in the past. We can make sure that those items are being utilized properly throughout the town for these purposes. So yes, all items that are purchased through this grant should be sort of cross-departmentally used.
All right, do I hear a motion then to approve the emergency grant as detailed by Kristen?
I make a motion that we approve the EMPG grant as detailed by Kristen.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. Thanks, Kristen. You're up next. Oh no, I'm sorry. Now we have the athletic club. So who's going to present the Mark? I see you're here.
Jen Donnelly's here also.
Okay, and Jen too. Thank you. So this again is an annual process where we go through the licensing and permitting for the athletic club. And I know that our new administrative support person, Geneva, has been working hard on this and learning a lot about this process. And Mark, if you want to just give us kind of a quick overview about any changes in this application from previous years and anything that we should know about the athletic club that is.
Sure. Well, one of the big things, we have a new bar manager, Jen Boron, that was approved by the ABCC in October.
Can I stop you, Mark? There's a lot of interference. I don't know if it's coming from your end.
Yep. Hold on one second. Let me.
Someone must be listening to the meeting at the same time.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay, we're all set. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So yeah, Jen Donnelly was accepted as I'm sorry, Jen Bourne was accepted as the bar manager in October. That was probably the most major happening here. Our working hours are still the same. We're back to being open 7 days a week again, starting a couple weeks ago. We were off on Sundays and Mondays for a while, but business has kind of picked up. Our renting of the back room has also picked up. More members means more private events that are happening. Supporting town functions also. We have a couple library functions. We've got a holiday function we're working with the library on. We also had a Halloween pumpkin cart for the kids for Halloween here with hay rides. That was a huge success. Other than that, business is pretty good. And to the best of our knowledge, we haven't had any complaints in regards to the athletic club. And we do communicate with the chief, on a monthly basis.
Okay. Eric or Melissa, do you have any questions?
No, sounds good.
Melissa?
No, no questions. I'm sorry. I shook my head, but
Okay.
realized there's nothing audio.
So Geneva, I'm just gonna put you on the spot. Is everything in order in terms of the of what you need for the application?
Everything appears to be, so I think that we're pretty good here.
And I know we did have a, we had an email from somebody in town concerning the permit, and I did go back and look at, we had forwarded to the athletic club the questions that had been forwarded to us back at the end of September, and had the select board received responses in writing. And I also followed up with the police chief today, just to make sure there was nothing outstanding. And, I was satisfied that this could move forward. So Eric or Melissa, did one of you want to make a motion about the license?
I make a motion that we approve the Shutesbury Athletic Club license for the next following year.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. Thank you, Mark. And
Thank you.
thank you. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so now you're back, Kristen. Or Becky, who wants to take this?
Okay, so we're else.
So I'm surprised they didn't ask us to sign this.
You're muted, Becky.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. So the memorandum of agreement needs to be voted annually. So it's up on screen. I think there were some questions of changing things last year that I believe in the end did not change after the survey went out. At this point, it's the police chief and Mark who need to bring forward whether they are happy with and willing to sign the agreement at this time, and if the select board signs off after consultation with the police chief.
Okay, so I'll take the opportunity. I am fully satisfied with the memorandum of agreement. I feel that the Shutesbury Athletic Club has been in compliance with all of the areas that they need to be. And Mark did say we talk monthly, but sometimes a little bit more than that too, just to make sure that I know exactly what's happening for events. So I am ready to sign this.
And Mark, is the athletic club in agreement with all of the provisions within the memorandum?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So Melissa, Eric, any questions, comments?
Nope, that sounds good to me. I think this is the same as last year, so I think it's good. If the police chief's happy with it.
I have none either.
Okay, do I hear a motion then to approve the, it's memorandum of agreement, is that correct?
Right.
It says an MOU on my agenda, but it's a memorandum of agreement between the town and the Shutesbury Athletic Club.
I make a motion that we accept the memorandum of agreement between the town of Shutesbury and the Shutesbury Athletic Club.
Second,
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. Okay, now we have to, we appointed a Lake Wyola Dam Subcommittee, and subsequent to doing the appointments, we found out from town council that we could not, as we had hoped, have any abutters on the, any, property abutters on the committee, that they are certainly welcome to participate and provide feedback to the committee. This committee's a subcommittee of the select board. All of its meetings will be posted. So we need to, I don't know, do we need to disband, Becky, or rescind our first vote and then appoint a new committee? I just want to procedurally, I just want to make sure we're doing this correctly.
So you have 3 members that will no longer be on the committee. So I think if we just rescind those 3 members.
Okay. We don't have to dissolve the whole committee. Eric, does that work?
That's fine with me. I mean, whatever the legal way is to do it, it really doesn't matter to me how we do it.
So, so you have those the 3 names.
Eric?
Well, do I? That's always the question. Where is that piece of paper, right?
Ryan Zarahua.
Yeah.
And is it Jason?
Dustin.
Dustin Kupak.
Kupak.
Yeah.
Correct.
3.
Dustin Kupak.
Ryan Zarahua and Glenn Stockton.
So do I hear a motion to rescind the appointment of those 3 individuals as named by Becky?
So moved.
This
So
is late
moved.
at night. I can't go back through those names. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion and anything else, Eric, that we need to?
Well, I just, first of all, excuse me, I did send out an update to everybody on the committee, it was on the committee, to say that we would be reconfiguring the committee and that those people couldn't be on it. So they've all been notified, just so you know that they do know. And secondly, I made very minor changes to what I think we should vote on that too, or whatever, just the, I realized we made a couple little small mistakes on the charge the committee. And I wish I could find that piece of paper. Jeepers, unbelievable. Too many papers.
Well, you sent those to
Yes,
us
I
in
did.
advance of the meeting.
I
right?
did actually, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the basic change is just to name the committee and the charge. And the name of the committee is the Lake Wyola Dam Study Committee. And that's really the change, is just to name it. Because I realized here we had this charge, we didn't name the committee that we were charging. So that's the change.
Okay. So let's do the vote to rescind first, and then the vote to just revise the committee charge with the title for the committee. So I think, did you make a motion already? We had a motion.
Yeah, I said so.
And we had a second. Okay.
Yes.
Good. So let's go ahead and vote on that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye.
I think we might have voted too, actually, but that's another story. I don't know.
Geneva will let us know. Okay, so so do I hear a motion to change the charge to include a naming the committee, the Lake Wyola Dam Study
Damn
Committee?
study committee, the damn
That
study.
damn study committee.
Right.
So moved. Getting later.
I know.
Okay, so is there a motion to rename, to change the charge with the committee's name?
I make a motion to change the charge of the Lake Viola Dam Study Committee to include a title of the committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker eye.
Farrell, aye. Thank you. Lesson learned, right? We tried to be inclusive and then got shut down.
I
by
know,
the
really, it's
mayor.
unbelievable.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
but you know, I hope we encourage all those people. They can.
Oh, yeah, no, that, I said that in the letter that we would, that we want their opinion, and then I think we do.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is rescinding a cultural council vote. I apologize, I don't really recall what this is about, so Becky, maybe you can.
Okay, and I'm gonna go to Geneva on this one. The cultural council person had not been showing up at meetings, and I'm trying to remember his name.
David Leach.
David Leach.
So is this a long-standing problem where, and has he been notified that we were going to take this vote?
I believe Rory tried to reach him and got no response, even when she let him know that this was happening. So
How long had it been since he hadn't been showing up?
over a year. I don't believe he ever did show up.
So he was appointed and never came to a meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I hate taking people off of committees without notification, but it sounds like he has not even responded at all.
He hasn't shown a lot of interest, that's for sure.
Right. Hasn't come to a meeting and hasn't responded. Okay, well, do I hear a motion to rescind again? Tell me again, it's David Leach?
Leach, yeah.
As a member of the Cultural Council.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker eye.
Farrell, aye. I guess I would ask if, I assume Geneva, you'll be sending him some sort of letter. And I think we should just include in that if he wants to have us revisit this, he should get in touch with the select board. Just, again, I really don't like doing this with no communication, but.
I believe Rory has made her best attempts to communicate, so.
Yeah. We might get a response with rescinding it, but we will see.
I'll send a letter.
Okay, great. And then he should just, be in touch if he wants to challenge us, or he has some other information for us.
Okay.
Okay, before we do the town administrator updates, as I noted at the beginning of the meeting, we had an item that was unanticipated, unexpected, and I want to just address briefly tonight because we need to be getting more information. But we did receive, the town did receive a letter from the Department of Environmental Protection late in the day on Friday. And it was in response to testing that was done at the fire station, PFAS testing. And DEP had, I believe that there were already some monitoring wells there. You know, we had identified that there were issues with the fire station, and a number of properties on Leverett Road were affected. So the DEP came in this summer, I believe it was maybe in June and August, and tested the soil and tested the monitoring wells. And unfortunately, they found reportable PFAS and high levels of PFAS, both in the groundwater and the soil samples, resulting in the town receiving this letter, which was entitled A Notice of Responsibility. So the letter calls for some immediate actions, and most immediately that we need to hire a licensed site professional to do testing. And then there are a number of other both formal notifications and a response action plan that we're going to have to do. So we're immediately under a timeline here. It's nothing any of us wanted to hear, but that's the reality. You know, there was foam used at the fire station, which resulted in the PFAS contamination, and it goes beyond. It affects a number of other properties. So the town has responsibility. I have talked to Becky about this. I know that she circulated the letter to the select board, so you have this. It does get posted on the DEP. They have some sort of a public notification system, so this will be up there. And the first, aside from identifying a licensed site professional who would be responsible for doing the testing, we also, and a number of other things, we are planning on, Becky has set up a meeting with DEP for Tuesday, the 29th, to go through this. So again, it's troubling. I think, we are going to have to see what our licensed site professional has to say, see what the results are of the testing of the properties who've been affected by PFAS before, whether we installed, as everybody might remember, we installed or had installed a number of water filtration systems. So they'll be testing to see whether or not those are in fact working. And then think longer term about how this is going to be addressed. So I guess, we're not going to have a long discussion about this tonight. I think we'll know more after the meeting with DEP. But I just wanted to make sure that that the public was aware, and that you, Eric, and Melissa know that we're working on this. And I guess one question I have, Becky, is there, to engage a licensed site professional, which we need to do you need authorization from the select board, and where's the money going to come from?
It would be helpful to get authorization from the select board. The immediate need within 30 days is to do some testing. I want to be sure, so will make a proposal at the next official meeting for a longer term, but like you said, I think we need to act quickly. And so if you would vote to support engaging a licensed site professional in a more of a longer term contract, in a long-term contract, we know what we have to do for the next year. in referencing the letter. So that would be the scope of work. So if the select board could approve negotiating with a firm to support us in all the actions required by the letter for the next year, we could move ahead more quickly. And if you would authorize to be, just have one of you or have Rita be the person to confirm that she agrees with that we have found the best firm, that would be helpful.
Is this something that has to go out to bid, Becky, or is it just, or you just, how does that work?
We can go out to bid, but we can also go direct. Consultants like licensed site professionals are like consultants, and so you don't have to do the traditional bidding route, but you can, and sometimes you get better results. So it might be best if we can find somebody to address the testing as we do more work, but because there are 60-day requirements as well, just to have the permission, if it's the best route, would be very helpful. If the select board would be willing to do that, to have the permission to move ahead in a contract that would be longer term. But we would also need funding, and this only source before an annual town meeting would be the ARPA funds.
Well, or FinCom reserve funds, right?
Yep. But I don't know if if it's a year, they might not have enough. Because traditionally we don't use up funding more, a single item has never taken more than 50% of what they have, especially this early in the year. I think they have been updated by Highway Department that Highway has had more than usual problems with maintaining vehicles and costs. So they are more than halfway through their budget, which they usually aren't till at least into winter, because the trucks tend to have more trouble in the winter. So Finance Committee can help with smaller things. I anticipate this is going to be a larger amount. And we'll want to put it, we might want to go to town meeting, a special town meeting for it. We're looking at free cash being certified in the next week. So that could be looked at as a source as well.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we proceed with the site professional and proceeding with the outline of the letter and giving Rita our authority to choose those contracts and scope of work.
Yeah, that's good.
That's basically yeah. Okay.
Well, I guess I just want to have a little bit more discussion.
No, that's fine.
I've been thinking about it. I'm wondering, Becky, if I understand the urgency here. The immediate urgency is around getting the testing done. I wonder if we can do this in two parts, so that we engage somebody to do the testing, but then we do a little bit more due diligence around who the LSP is going to be, licensed site professional. For, I don't feel really comfortable with just engaging somebody that we have to get right now and then saying we're living with you for the next year without having. I think if, it might cost us a little bit more in terms of the testing, but I'd feel more comfortable if we had, we were looking at more than one firm and we had some sort of proposals and discussion. So.
That's a
what's-
good idea. That's a good, I didn't mean to rush things. You're right.
No,
that's a good idea.
no, I know. I mean, it's tempting to just do it, but
That
I,
was my original proposal, so
okay,
I'm good with that.
okay, all right. So,
I can withdraw that motion and we can make it tighter.
yeah, yeah.
All right, I'll
So
withdraw the
maybe it's
motion.
just that, so that there's a two-part, we have an initial LSP do the testing, and then part two, we go through more, a review process and a proposal process to secure a firm that will then will follow through with the work over the balance of the time. I mean, we don't even have a scope together yet, and maybe that's something,
I think we do, Rita.
Okay.
Yeah, reading through what is required is a very solid.
Okay, great. So that's actually a really good thing, because then it helps when we're talking to LSPs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm hoping to get input at the meeting that will help assist us in, really establishing what we're looking for, what our goals are. And I think they can sometimes tell us from different experience they've had with different firms. They can't advise a specific
Right.
firm.
Okay. All right. So Melissa and Eric, are you okay with that two-part approach then? And so I'll assume the motion is to proceed with the first with the licensed site professional to do the testing, and then go through some sort of procurement process to engage licensed site professional to perform the balance of the work.
So moved. Perfectly said. So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. All right. Town administrator updates. Do you have anything for us on the? Oh,
Quick question. The meeting on the 29th, is
Can-
that?
Can you attend? That would be great.
Yes.
And Melissa,
So, and if so, does that have to be posted as a meeting or select board meeting? Because you'll be there, Rita, right?
Yeah.
So we have to post it, I assume.
Yep.
Okay.
It's posted, I think. Isn't it?
Oh, well,
It's out there.
No, it's.
No, I think that the 29th is the tax meeting.
Yeah, the
I'm
tax
sorry, I'm sorry,
classification
I'm
hearing.
sorry.
Yeah, the nighttime at 5:30, we have the classification hearing.
Never mind.
Yeah. I think I can go. I'm not sure I can go, but if it was posted, I'd like to go if I can go, put it that way.
I'll make sure it's
So,
posted. And I'm sorry, I was
great.
trying to bring that up at an earlier time and I didn't get it out. So thank you for
No
me.
problem. Okay.
Okay, so Becky, do you have any updates for us on the PVTA, FRTA?
I called again asking for the PVTA to forward me that information. I still have not received a packet and he apologized, but I haven't gotten it yet.
Anything else, town administrator updates?
I just wanted to say that we have received a cultivation host agreement request. So someone is looking at buying a property in Shutesbury and they would like to cultivate marijuana on a tier 1 level, which is, I believe, a minimum of a half acre. That's what they just stated. I'm sorry, I thought it was 2 acres. But the cultivation agreements are an issue at this point in time because of the new legislation. I've reached out to town council. I originally asked her for a copy of what she has been using in other communities. She could not release that to me because they were waiting to get changes. The law had just changed. They are saying that it'll be, she just updated me that it's going to be more than a year till they get a new sample agreement from the commission that has made all of the changes, the marijuana commission. So I'm not sure how to approach this. We're going to have to look at an old agreement, make advised changes, like there's some sections that are no longer allowable that can come straight out. And then, but we need to have select board review and discussion of this. Some communities have decided not to use an agreement at all. Some communities feel burnt that they are now being held liable for some of the fees that they collected. And so there's more to discuss here. So for another day, but I just wanted to alert you that we need to proceed ahead with this. The individual had not contacted me for over 2 months, so I was not sure if they were going to purchase the property and continue with their request. So that's another issue you'll see again on the agenda. The other update is about the assessors. Rita did a beautiful job presenting the tax information in the beginning. I just wanted you to know that Roy Bishop has been extremely helpful throughout this process. Tonight, while we were in the meeting, I got a phone call from Jeff Quackenbush, who had just submitted the necessary paperwork for initiating the certification of our values. We were just in a pre-certification stage, and now we've moved into the certification stage. And we'll be hearing from DOR and hopefully by Tuesday for the classification hearing. I spoke to Lauren Aldridge this morning, and she thinks that it's doable for DOR to get back to us in that time frame. If they are unable, the tax classification hearing would have to be postponed. But we'll have notice of that ahead of the meeting. But it looks to be that we are on track. And I also wanted the select board to know that David Burgess came again on Friday to assist in the assessor's office. And we are very appreciative of his time in answering questions. He will be back the day after Thanksgiving to help us lift off and get our tax bills rolling. After, he's going to walk Leslie through necessary steps. And so that's all very optimistic given what difficult circumstances we found ourselves in. And the last thing, this afternoon, there were 6 designer RFQs. That's a request for qualifications we received by 3 o'clock this afternoon. And then together with the library director, we opened them and sorted them, went through each to make sure that all necessary documentation was in place. And all of those were forwarded. All those packets are going to be distributed to the library building committee. And that's the end of my report for tonight. Any questions?
No, none for me.
I just have one question. Any progress on finding somebody for the assessor's office? We've posted that job, right?
It's posted. It's for the month of November. It ran in the Beacon, the statewide publication. It's been on the website and will continue on the website for the Mass Municipal Association. And the only change likely will be that Roy's son, who has started an assessing company, will be giving us a quote for services. But no individual has come forward.
Okay. All right, so I think we have finished. Thanks all for your endurance this evening. And do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Yes, so moved.
Second, I think it's a modern day record, by the way. Just saying.
All those in
Second.
favor signify by saying aye.
Make peace, O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. Geneva, thanks for sticking with us, and Kristen, you too. And everybody from the public, obviously, who came to the meeting. So thanks so much, and everybody have a good Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy
Yes, thank you.
Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.